So with the southern border with the United States, the crackdowns on illegal migrants, illegal immigrants that are convicted of crimes that ICE agents now have to storm into the sanctuary cities because sanctuary cities have failed the people. Um, once as I'm looking through this, I want to bring up this because obviously what's happening in the United States is also happening in Canada. We're not having ICE agents or our border security going after, our cities, which after seeing the United States that we should consider with this video here. This is from Table Salt where they say America's northern border is exploding with illegal entries from Canada as more and more people flee Trudeau's Canada. So, funny enough, and this is the hilarious joke and irony of all this, is the people that they brought in, the people that they swooped in when our country was basically shut down during that glorious pandemic years. Remember that. When our country was shut down, they brought in people. They brought in these illegal migrants, and they said they need to pour in more migrants because of the population decline, because not enough people are having babies. And oh my God, the workforce, who's going to look after us when we retire, and all the crazy BS rhetoric you've heard about it, which is absolute BS. What they wanted to do was import these people that while they're laying off regular union based jobs or people that worked at a decent place with a decent salary, they bring in the illegals to use them and exploit them for cheap labor. That's primarily what's happening in Canada, folks. And a lot of corporations from Tim Hortons to Loblaws to Walmart to all these different huge entities abuse this power, abuse this. So that is why a lot of these illegals are coming into Canada. But here is a video here. This is about 4 minutes long, where people that are coming into Canada illegally that Justin Trudeau brought are despised by Canada, that they know they're not going to get ahead, so they're leaving to the United States. Isn't that kind of funny? That's hilarious. The illegals they're bringing into Canada are now fleeing to the United States because they see better prosperity with the United States. So watch this. Watch this. It's a little 4 minute video here.
Under the cover of darkness, people emerging from a vehicle after it pulls up to a gas station in Plattsburgh, a city in Clinton County, New York. It's located more than 300 miles from New York City and less than 30 miles from the Canadian border.
Hi, sir. Where are you coming from? I'm a journalist. Where are you coming from? You came from Canada?
My questions met with silence,
Tell us where you're coming from.
reluctance,
Ma'am, where are you coming from? Can you tell me?
and refusal.
No, you don't want to talk?
They start walking away, and we follow them.
Sir, can we talk to you? Can you tell me where you're coming from? I'm a journalist. We're doing a story on people crossing the border.
We are coming from India.
Can you show me the documents?
So they talk to the other people. They are obviously silent. They don't want any notion on being on camera. They don't want anyone to know about them. This guy finally chimes in and says, "I'm from India." And look at a lot of the people, and again, not someone that's pro-immigrant. I'm not making this as a race baiting remark, but you see corporations exploiting people from India, Pakistan, Middle Eastern countries that are not financially well off in their territory. That maybe they're underprivileged the same way, not in the same regards as us. So they bring those people in to exploit them. And through temporary work visas, through student visas, we've seen all the scandals left, right, and center about this. So a lot of these people are coming from India, from Middle Eastern countries, through this human trafficking exploitation done federally by our government. And it's just funny because now the people that are coming into Canada to exploit our government to get these instant visas are going to the United States. But here's more of this.
No, ma'am.
The letterhead identifies the document at a glance. It's from the federal government. the kind of document given to asylum seekers
What did they say to you?
after crossing the border illegally.
At the border, what did they say?
Nothing.
You crossed the border, the Canadian border?
Yes.
How long did it take to walk across the border?
Ma'am, this is the main person is this.
Okay, one more question. Are you going to New York City?
Yeah.
And that's how we finally confirmed where at least one of them is going. The gas station is called Mountain Mart. It's also a bus stop here in upstate New York, and we've confirmed well known around here as a meeting place for migrants after crossing the northern border. About 20
So now you kind of understand where Trump is coming from. Now you kind of understand, you have a bit of sympathy for the game show host when he says that Canada's got to smarten up and fix their stupid broken border situation and tighten up. They need to get themselves, they need a boot in the ass to fix the border crisis, or we're going to put tariffs on. Which at this point, because now we're in, January 29th now, they're coming February 1st. It looks like we're going to get the tariffs. It looks like, sadly, because just the mess, the goddamn mess of our government, from the politicians in parliament to the premiers of each province, it's an absolute mess. To the point that, we're going to just deal with the tariffs. And now it's just turned into a goddamn circus when all they had to do was fix the damn border problem. All they had to do. All they had to do. And they know about this. This happens periodically for many, many years. And again, coming from someone that's pro-immigrant, I'm frustrated by this. I'm frustrated by this because the people that went through the legal channels, that had to sign up to become a citizen, that had to apply for a visa and go through the legal channels, they're upset by this. Because now they're just bringing in people. They're just bringing in these people to exploit them for cheap labor. And now because they realize that, I can't prosper in Canada, I'm going to go to the United States. So again, you wonder why Trump said about Canada, why he said about the situation. And our borders are a mess. Like, luckily in Ontario, we have the bridges. We have bodies of water, but Quebec doesn't. Quebec people are right here. You can see people traveling abroad. The prairie provinces are the same thing. BC. People are going through cargo ships. People are being smuggled in through the forest. There's no border protection. And when you don't have border protection, you don't have a country. And that is something that the billionaire class have always wanted. They've always desired. So this isn't just this isn't a right-wing position. This is a saving Canada from becoming extinct before the country doesn't become a country. Because if we don't have borders, what's the point? We're not Canada anymore.
20 miles from here and closer to Canada, the town of Champlain, where town supervisor Thomas Tremblay regularly deals with complaints from people about migrants on their property.
To me, it's like a back door.
A back door into the United States, he says. While our eyes look at the flow of people crossing the southern border, here locals will tell you an alternate route into the U.S. through Canada is becoming more popular for people who are desperate to get into the country.
We've seen 4, 6, or 8 individuals walking down one of our town roads or village streets.
It's a regular thing.
It's become a regular thing, yes.
I got them on my cameras all the time, going through the woods.
These images from Joe Ashland's deer camera.
They're not shy, they just walk down the street.
He says migrants end up around his home all the time.
You gotta lock everything. Years ago, you never locked any doors around here, but now you do.
Have you ever had to place a call to Border Patrol?
Oh, plenty of times.
People around here tell us placing calls to Border Patrol is a regular thing.
Across the road from my house, they come over the hill. Canada is only a 10-minute walk.
Alan Racine lives right by the northern border.
There was a family. There was 5 of them. There was a husband and wife, a teenager and two little ones. And I talked to them. I couldn't understand the word they said. So I asked them if they needed a bottle of water. It was really hot out. I said, need water or something? And all I seen was a little girl go like this.
Yeah.
She was hungry.
He works in the town of Shanghai.
See, so even these people, they understand that, you know, they're human beings and providing them water. It's not like they're totally, it's not a racist thing to be concerned about the border. Not race baiting. Anyone that brings up that's a racist point are trying to hide the fact that the billionaires are using this, abusing this measure, and are programming you or conditioning you that any criticism of this, any criticism of the exploitation is somehow racist. It's racism to talk about border security. It's racist to have legal immigration. Legal, meaning that there's checks and balances to find out why exactly people are coming here, their intentions, making sure that they're safe as well as we are safe. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of this.
Champlain as a highway superintendent
Water's right over here.
and took us on a drive.
And walk right across.
We went through a cemetery where he says you can often find evidence of people moving through.
Normally when you come down here, sometimes you'll see clothes. Right on here on the cement here, they change their clothes.
Stretching more than 5,500 miles long, the northern border is the longest land border in the world, more than twice as long as the southern border. Here, there are no walls, fences, or major barriers. There is a lot of open land.
Walking through grass.
So that's incredible. That's incredible. And, you know, fair point. At the start of 2016, when Trump mentioned about the border wall, I admit that at first I thought it was a bit racist that they were concerned about the southern border. I understand they're concerned about the southern border, but I thought it was kind of weird that all the attention was on the south, which is a smaller border, compared to Canada, compared to the longest stretch of border between the United States and Canada. And you have so much land, you have so much forest area, farmland, county roads that people just travel and could just easily go through without going through a border crossing, can easily get between Canada and the United States easily. That there's no concern about. There's no concern about. So in 2016, when I said that, yeah, it was a bit racist, I was also concerned why they weren't concerned about the northern border. And considering this goes on periodically, where all it takes is going down the street to a bus stop, to a gas station bus stop, and they can take a bus down to New York City, and we don't know where these people came from. Wouldn't that be eye-opening to understand that, yeah, we should maybe also look at that border? Considering it's how massive it is compared to the southern border? It seems baffling. I understand that, yes, southern border, you got cartels, you got people coming in from Latin American countries. There's more pouring of these people coming in the southern border. But the northern border has the exact same situation.
Grass and surrounded by tall trees, there are many places for migrants to hide, and that's how many of them are navigating the northern border undetected.
In a statement to Fox 5 News, a spokesperson for U.S. Customs and Border Protection said, "We have seen an increase by USBP in apprehensions of individuals unlawfully crossing the northern border. We looked at the data and found a sharp increase in the number of encounters Border Patrol is having with people illegally crossing from Canada. This fiscal year so far, as of June, 16,459 and counting.
Wow.
The number already exceeding last fiscal year with a total of 10,021 encounters."
Unbelievable. And again, these are people that Justin Trudeau and Mark Miller and the Liberal Party and people in Ottawa, the billionaire class, brought them into Canada illegally, brought them in, and then they're taking that advantage of getting the visa coming into Canada to then go to the southern border, to go into the United States. Again, now you understand why Trump said what he did, why Trump is putting the tariffs on, because our idiot policies within our government allowed this to happen. And since we don't have a grasp of our border situation, and the only thing they're concerned about is, oh, you're going to put tariffs on our goods, then we're going to put tariffs on you. Let's duke it out. This is just making a mockery of the whole situation, when all they had to do was look at the border situation and fix it. All they had to do. All they had to do. But now, because of their ignorance and arrogance and all the shit that goes on, we're going to get tariffs on February 1st. The only one that seemed to be reasonable was Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith of Alberta, the premier of Alberta, was at least decent enough to go to Mar-a-Lago and beg Trump for an extension through negotiation. But now here we are in this pettiness, and we're going to get tariffs because of politician stupidity, because they're allowing this to occur. So here's this woman, Candace Malcolm, points out that was just at the Roxham Road border in Champlain, New York. So that's where that news report was from. The Roxham Road border in Champaign, New York. In the 30 minutes or so that we were there, we saw 8 people, 2 families of 4, cross illegally into Canada, heading to the Canadian side now. Videos and report come. So all they have to do is walk down this road, this county road. No officers, no gates, no nothing. Walk down the road, boom, they're into America. Boom, they're into Canada. And like I said, it happens in Quebec. It happens in the eastern part. It also happens in the prairie provinces. We're fortunate enough that in Ontario, we have the lakes. So it's kind of hard to cross the border without having to go through the bridge ports. But in these provinces, where it happens more frequently, they have no such measures. That's why border security is a top priority for these provinces. That's why they're concerned about this. So, so here is a CBSA agent, so a border security agent, going to tell you a story about how for a decade, this has been going on. That they neglected border security for a decade because, again, the billionaire class allowed open borders to flourish in Canada because they don't care about sovereignty. They don't care about security. They want Canadians to be exploited through this measure so that we keep us divided, keep us angered, keep the crimes happening, so we're all distracted by the billionaire class taking advantage of all of us. So here's his story.
We've been listening to for the last decade is quite misleading. We don't have a border patrol. We don't have the number of officers needed to adequately enforce our customs and our immigration laws at the borders, let alone in our communities. We're about to experience a tsunami of people who are living illegally in the United States seeking asylum in Canada. I have no doubt that the United States will make an attempt, and a serious attempt, to do mass deportations. Our government absolutely is not prepared. We've neglected border security and migration control for a decade. We need to have more people. We need to have a border patrol. We need to start using drones, using technology. We need to have outbound inspection of both people and goods. Anyone coming in, we have to start using biometric identifiers, such as the United States. And the crazy thing is we have the technology here in Canada. We're not utilizing it to the extent we could, and we're not putting in the steps so we could very quickly. But this government has ignored border security and migration for a decade. We've seen this with stolen vehicles leaving. It's really bad. And I feel bad for the small towns that are along the border because they're going to be the ones that really see the impact.
So they're worried because of ICE agents in the United States pushing the illegal criminals out of the United States, that they're going to come to Canada. And like you said there, we're not prepared. We have nothing. We have nothing to secure our border with. Nothing. And they've been doing this for a decade. A decade of neglect for security because they knew it was going to happen at some point. This neglected border security that now, at a time where they're worried that migrants are going to flood into Canada being exported by the United States, that is troublesome, and troublesome for the small communities that live along the borders because they didn't expect this to happen. They don't want this to happen. They don't want to be harboring all these fugitives from the United States and dealing with this mess that our Canadian politicians just completely ignored for their own self-arrogant. Like, it's just an absolute absurdity. But as far as for the stolen cars, Toronto police already say, put your keys right at the door. So if a criminal breaks in, you just give them the keys because, why actually arrest them? So here is Mark Miller. Mark Miller, our immigration minister, who ill-famously wanted these migrants to come in. He was part of the team that coordinated this human exploitation, this human trafficking federally into our country, and has now been kind of a somewhat resistor, a milquetoast resistor of, oh, well, now we got to be concerned about migrants. Now we got to be concerned about border security. Mark Miller has asked why not bring Parliament back to vote on needed border changes and funding that has not passed. So right now, Parliament is disbanded. When Trudeau resigned, Parliament ceased and won't come back till March. Well, right now, we got tariffs coming in on February 1st. We have lax border laws that are going to influx immigrants with criminal backgrounds. And there's no initiative by any politician to bring back Parliament to vote on this. So now here he is on CTV News Channel where he defends Parliament disbanded. Not the border, not be concerned about the towns and cities across the border of Canada that are going to have to deal with this, but defend Parliament not going to office. Listen to this.
There are a number of measures that we can bring into place that do not need Parliament to reconvene. Indeed, were the Prime Minister or the President to impose tariffs, we would be ready to move tomorrow. We wouldn't have to reconvene Parliament. We're in a position where the Parliament's been prorogued because of the sclerosis that has occurred inside Parliament for the last 6 months, but also for the transition.
God, and I thought Joe Biden was bad at malfunctioning. We need to have Parliament just prologue because this brain working on dial-up? What the hell's going on here? Maybe he needs one of those Starlink towers by his ear so he can actually get some brain power working. Like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? You know it's going to happen. You know, you've been railing about this for the last how many days now? That you know that the border is now in crisis because Donald Trump's policies, having the ICE agents kick them out of the United States, is going to affect Canada, and we haven't tightened up yet. We haven't done jack squat. All you've done is announce that there's going to be a proposal of, what, $1.6 billion to the border, but there's no measure to actually implement that. That's just an empty promise. And now you're caught up on this, and all you have... Yeah,
there are a number of measures that we can bring into place that do not need Parliament to reconvene. Indeed, were the Prime Minister or the President to impose tariffs, we would be ready to move tomorrow. We wouldn't have to reconvene Parliament. We're in a position where the Parliament's been prorogued because of the sclerosis that has occurred inside Parliament for the last 6 months, but also for the transition to a new Prime Minister, to a new leader.
So they can't go back to work and fix the damn border policy and probably prevent the tariffs from coming in because we're in measures of trying to find a new political leader. How stupid is that? How stupid is that? That, oh, because Justin Trudeau resigned and your party internally are having these battle duking it out to try to find who's going to be the next leader. None of Canada is functional. We're in such a dysfunction dystopia right now because Parliament can't decide a new leader. That's why it's got to be disbanded. That's why the border's going to suck. And all these people are going to have to deal with these criminal aliens that are going to pour in. Possibly. Like, oh my God. Now you understand why Trump said what he did. Not because he's a bully to Canada. He actually likes Canada. Danielle Smith went down there and defended Canada's exports and the oil and the gas that comes from Alberta. And Trump stated that he wants to continue using Canadian products. But he knows that the border is such a mess that people that are pouring into Canada are fleeing to the United States, which is going to affect him. So he's obviously understanding this, but our stupid ass politicians here, but whether being their self-arrogance or their ignorance, I don't know what it is, are just so idiotically stupid that they caused this mess. They caused this goddamn mess. And then they're going to pretend that, oh, we're going to be fighters against Trump's policies. We're going to be fighters against the tariffs. You're the one that brought us the tariffs, you This all could have been resolved. All could have been resolved. But instead, you had to be incompetent assholes to lead us down this path. So congratulations. You suck worse than a Hoover vacuum. Which I know it's not a good analogy, but that's what I had on the top of my mind. You just absolutely are the worst for this country. The worst.